I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside. It's so comfortable and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off-road. The guy managed the group. He was like, what are you doing in this beautiful car? I'm like, I'm going off-road. He's like, are you sure? Because you can use one of ours. And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, no, we're going to do this. And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability as well as its robust interior are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the two-door Defender 90, the four-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
Sometimes it takes a different approach to help you unlock your true potential. Capella University's game-changing FlexPath format helps you learn at your own pace and fit earning a degree into your life. From before you enroll to after you graduate, you'll be supported by people who are invested in your success so you can pursue your goals knowing that help is available if you need it. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show. Today on the James Altucher Show.
To run for president is the most humiliating thing you can ever do because everything that happens to you is criticism. Everything.
Oh, believe me, I've done more humiliating things, but go ahead.
No doubt. Yeah, it's the same thing I would tell any candidate that asked me. Because, in fact, I was meeting with a celebrity guy who wanted to run for office recently. And I said, I don't think it's going to work. And he's like, why not? And I said, because in order to be effective, you have to have money. The golden rule, the one with the gold makes the rules, right? You have to raise money 90% of your time as an office holder. You got to raise money.
Yeah.
90. People have this romantic vision that they're going to run for office. And I know you ran, but like traditional running for politics, right? I'm going to go out there and I get to talk about my issues. No, you don't. No, you get to sit in a small room with a phone in front of you, making calls 24/7, asking people for money. It's humiliating. It's not fun. And it's really, really hard work. And the ones that grind it out and say, I don't care, I'll do whatever it takes to win, those are the ones that win. It's the candidates that go, I'm going to go knock on every door in my district.
So you felt your sense was that this celebrity you were talking to wouldn't be able to put his full heart into raising money, into knocking on every door?
I typically try to talk anybody that says to me they want to run, I talk them out of it.
And there's no exceptions? Like there's nobody who's just so popular from being like a war?
He doesn't have to raise money.
Well, like, okay, what about like a John McCain when he first ran in Arizona? Was he such a war hero? Oh, but he had his wife's money too. His wife had like
but it helps.
$100 million.
But he also had to raise a lot of money.
Yeah.
But 99% of candidates don't have that kind of brand.
Yeah.
They just don't have a brand.
And again, I'm not political.
I know. Actually, and this is true, we've had a lot of political conversations. You really are not political. You're just totally fascinated by the game.
So excited for this podcast because lately I've gotten really into like everybody else in the country, really. I can't just say me, but everybody's into the election. It's kind of a fascinating race. But I have with me our old friend of the podcast, Phil Stutts, author of Fire Them Now. Also he's involved in the online campaigning, digital marketing, online data profiling for many, many elections, including 3 winning presidential elections, including being involved in some target state wins for Trump, who obviously won the presidency. Plus, you've been involved in many governor races, other races, and so on. No matter, I don't care what side of politically anybody's on. This is all just about strategy, games, marketing. You handle both Republicans and Democrats. We're going to talk about the presidential race, and you. So first off, Phil, before I continue the intro, hello.
Hey, good to be
welcome back.
Yeah.
I just want to mention one thing. Back in September, early September, you were on the podcast. We might have even done the interview in August, and this was long before the Iowa caucus. A young mayor by the name of Pete Buttigieg was in 4th or 5th place then, at least behind Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. I don't know who else. Then maybe it was Buttigieg. And you said to me on that podcast, you said Buttigieg was going to win or had the highest chance of winning. And you explained why, and you explained the data and the statistics and the history. And so I went on a prediction market where you're allowed to bet on the outcomes. Like, these prediction markets are amazing. Like, I've bet on the outcomes of Brexit. I've bet on how many tweets Donald Trump will do in a particular month. But I went all in on Pete Buttigieg winning Iowa.
Yeah.
And man, it was great. Like, I'm one of they have a ranking of predictors. I'm like one of the top predictors now just because of that one bet.
Yeah. Cool.
So, and Bloomberg's helped me out a little too.
Right.
Because I went inappropriately too much on Bloomberg, and he just won out of, I mean, not one. I've actually pulled that bet off completely, fortunately.
Yeah.
But there was a brief period a couple of weeks ago where the media was declaring him a winner until the recent debate.
Right.
And so I popped on that one, and that helped. But thank you for the mayor. I owe you a really good steak dinner on that one. And so, all right, where are you seeing right now? Here we are. What's the date today? It's February 25th. South Carolina debates tonight.
South Carolina elections this weekend.
And then you have a bunch of states on
Super
Tuesday.
Tuesday's coming up.
Yeah. Is that this coming
No,
Tuesday
it's
or the week
first,
after?
March 2nd, whatever that Tuesday is.
So just to say where we're at, like, Bernie Sanders has won in he got all together. He's got the most delegates after Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, which is sort of meaningless, right? You need 1,900 delegates to win, and he's got 26 or something.
Yeah.
But why are the newspapers kind of saying, oh, he's unstoppable now? He's only got 26 out of 1,900.
So you and Robin and I had this conversation like in December when you were asking me about Bloomberg, and I said I didn't think he had a shot, and you said why? I said, well, the model is Giuliani kind of tried to do this in 2008, skip the early states and run in Florida and win Florida, right? Now, way different money situation going on. Like, Bloomberg's has spent more money than probably anybody in the history of American
over $400 million now.
Political primaries, right? So that's a little different than what Giuliani. But the model is this: the media controls so much of the race, and so they, Iowa, if it was going to have a different narrative but the whole state got blown up because of the Democrats couldn't run their own caucus, right? So even though like Buttigieg won technically by like a very few number of votes, Bernie ended up getting more delegates. It was all wash in the media. Like, that could have been a huge launching pad for Buttigieg, and it didn't. It wasn't, right? Because of the screw up in Iowa.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have a few questions. So this is what I don't understand. The new software they were using to count the votes, it was called Shadow, which is such a dumb name for a political software. It's like really poor branding. But there was also, I saw some news story where Mayor Pete's organization and even Hillary Clinton's organization helped fund the development of this software. Is that true, or was that?
Yeah, I mean, that has been reported as true. Listen, in 2004, on the Bush reelection campaign, I was running the Get Out the Vote program, and we had a database it was on a Palm Pilot back then. But basically, we were supposed to get reported numbers back from polling precincts. They'd be uploaded, and then we could track the voting going on in real time in target states. And then we'd be able to deploy assets all throughout the day, and that the whole thing crashed, right? It didn't work. And we were like, why didn't it work? And then in 2012, Romney tried this. It's called Orca. They had this app that they were going to use.
Who's naming these software packages, by the way?
It completely blew up and crashed, right? Here's why. And this thing crashed in Iowa. Because people that vote are old. They don't want to they don't even look at, they have flip phones still. And they're supposed to be trained. If they're going to be trained to use these kind of data mechanisms, these apps that report numbers, they need to be trained over a 6-month period every single week because it's so difficult for them. Instead, some people didn't even get any training, and the whole thing exploded because the people weren't trained to put this thing in the database. Not only did the app apparently not work, people weren't trained to utilize the app properly. So, as a sidebar to what your original question is old people are the ones involved on the ground on election day
For primaries.
For any kind of election.
Really?
It's just what it is. Old people vote, young people don't. I don't care what you tell me about all the Bernie bros or, people said the youth vote was going to turn out for Obama. It was a minuscule uptick, right? It just doesn't happen, right? So just keep that in mind. But to go back to your question, right? So there was no momentum for Buttigieg out of the primary. Actually, Bernie probably got more momentum. And he went in New Hampshire and then New Hampshire. So what happened when Bernie won New Hampshire is, oh my goodness, he's won more delegates in 2 states in a row. So the media is going to control the narrative. He just took the Northeast. He just took the working class white voters. Oh my God. Now we're going to go to Nevada. And the Nevada is going to be unions and Hispanics, right? That's the big Nevada vote. And it's so now Bernie has won the union vote and he's won a lot of the Hispanic vote in Nevada. Now the media narrative is, oh my God, he's got the minority votes. He's got the union votes. He's got the white working votes. This is Bernie. Bloomberg's still sitting back there not being able, no one's talking about him.
Well, it's funny because...
And then the debate, it was his one chance to get back in the media narrative. And here's what happens in those debates. You got a billionaire who has a billionaire's ego. To run for president is the most humiliating thing you can ever do because everything that happens to you is criticism. Everything.
Oh, believe me, I've done more humiliating things, but go ahead.
No doubt. And I understand that he's mayor and he got criticized a lot. But on that debate stage, think about this. Pete Buttigieg was attacking Mayor Bloomberg, right? Pete Buttigieg, the mayor of a city of 100,000, I think he ended up, I don't know this number, but something in order to win, he ended up getting 12,000 votes or something like that, right?
It's the 4th largest city in Indiana.
Right. But
he lost for a statewide election.
Has 100,000 in the city, 50% of them don't vote. He went to, he had 12,000 votes to win.
Right.
Right. Bloomberg is running one of the biggest economies in the world.
Yeah, 3 terms, by the way,
and he's getting attacked by this guy, and your ego is what? You're so shell-shocked that someone would attack you because not only are you one of the richest men in the world, you've been a mayor of New York.
So Mayor Pete might disappear after this election.
No, he'll stick around. The reason
disappear Bloomberg will take care of him. You dared insult me on the debate stage?
No, because he's irrelevant now. Buttigieg is out. It's over, right? Warren, it's out. It's over.
Why is Warren out?
Well, her voting base is Bernie voters.
I know. So
she had to win the one-on-one battle with Bernie.
So somehow, I thought New Hampshire would be battleground between Sanders and Warren because she's Massachusetts, he's Vermont. They're right next to New Hampshire.
She's out.
Because it's signaled that she can't even control her backyard. But I thought it would be a little closer between her and Bernie in New Hampshire, but it just wasn't.
Well, there's another internal. It is all inside baseball, but it's probably pretty fun.
That's why we're here.
So
I don't even like baseball.
So 2 weeks ago, Warren withdrew all her ads out of South Carolina. She had planned to buy millions of dollars worth of ads in South Carolina, and she pulled all of them, and she put them into Nevada and Super Tuesday states. So that tells me, she knows she's going to lose. So she's out in South Carolina now, right? This is
like a Hail Mary pass.
She just took, it's not even a Hail Mary pass. She pulled all of her ads. She's not running ads in South Carolina. She said, I concede without saying it. So then she put ads and she transferred that money into the Nevada caucus and then to Super Tuesday primaries. Well, she got killed in Nevada. She didn't even get double digits. So she's not even getting delegates out of Nevada. So there's no pathway for her. There's no pathway for Buttigieg. The only reason they're staying in is, man, you have a pretty good platform when you're running for president. And then the second, look at Andrew Yang. Well, no one's talking about him anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. So really, South Carolina is going to come down to Biden or Bernie. That's it.
Okay. Gosh, there's so many questions now. So many things to unpack. So first off, I feel like before that debate with Bloomberg where Elizabeth Warren tore him apart and it was on all the media everywhere, I feel like the media was, even though Sanders had won Iowa and New Hampshire by that point, the media and the Democratic establishment was so afraid of Sanders getting the nomination, or is so afraid, that they were kind of declaring Bloomberg the winner. I mean, they were debating who should be Bloomberg's VP nominee. They were saying, should it be Hillary Clinton? Nobody. They weren't saying that about Sanders. I kept trying to think, just again, whether or not, it doesn't matter who you like. I was just trying to think from a game point of view. Why were they doing that? Yes, Bloomberg's got an advantage on money, of course, but why were they automatically defaulting to him as if he was the winner? Not even saying Sanders.
Who, Bloomberg?
Yeah, like
No,
I felt like the New York Post was kind of really building him up.
No,
And the Times.
I would just say I disagree. Bloomberg got annihilated in the press. In the polling, he got crushed in internal polling. So internal polling versus outside polling. So like media polling, stuff like that. I don't pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
I pay attention into what's being reported from inside the campaigns, because that's the win or die mentality. If you're polling, if I'm a pollster in Bloomberg's campaign, I'm either right or I'm out of business.
But isn't internal polling though a way of campaigning as well? So when I call you up, I'll ask the questions so that you kind of lean towards Bloomberg.
Well, that doesn't really help if you're trying to determine how you're going to win.
So I feel like there's two types of polling within campaigns. There's one where it's really campaigning.
That's called push polling, right?
Okay.
So you may want to do that because you want to get a press release out to say you're winning the race, right? That definitely happens, by the way. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like we're trying to gauge where our vulnerabilities are.
How do you get the internal polling?
Well, we have polling firms that we work with, and we do a poll for the candidate, and then we deliver the results to the candidate. It doesn't go public. So how do I get it? Oh, because it gets now. People in the campaign are just people in politics are the worst people in the world, right? So they just leak it. Like everybody leaks everything. I don't understand.
Even if their candidate's losing?
Even in the Trump administration, people just leak everything, and like it is such an anathema to me because I would never maybe it's just I'm a loyal. I've never leaked in 25 years of politics. I've never leaked anything to any press anytime. I'm a loyal soldier to the people we work with. But the polling went really bad for Bloomberg. Everybody harped on Warren and said, "Oh my God, Warren, she got him. You know, it was this great media narrative. It didn't move her numbers at all. In fact,
did it change his numbers?
It changed Bloomberg's numbers. He went down. Bernie went up. Warren also either stayed stagnant or went down. The media didn't report it that way. The media was so excited because they like the fight that sells more newspaper and more ad dollars. Don't forget, that's the whole reason for this, right? In the media. But ultimately, people saw Warren and it grated on them. Voters. It grates on them. Yes.
Because it's... Now, I always have to keep repeating this. I'm not going to repeat it anymore, but this is not political or anything.
Yeah, me.
I don't really know even a little. I know Bernie Sanders' issues, and we could discuss them. I actually don't really know Warren's issues, although I imagine they're similar to Sanders. Yeah. But it seemed to me her attack on Bloomberg showed her to be an effective brute, which is what you need to be president of the United States a little bit.
It's over, though. It's over for her.
And so you're saying her internal polling must show her as coming in dead last in South Carolina, and
no, she won't be dead last, but she's gonna. You have to hit a threshold in order to get delegates.
Yeah,
she has no delegates, or very minimal delegates to this point, and there's no path for her to get delegates. Here's the thing: unless something like I could see Biden winning the South Carolina primary, barely beating Bernie, and then the media is going to. You trust me on this. The media is going to go, Biden's back. The comeback kid, he's back. And then Super Tuesday, it's all going to be about Biden, which is going to help Biden, right? And that's going to hurt Bloomberg. But right now, Bernie's probably going to pick up more delegates on Super Tuesday than anybody else. And
even more than Bloomberg. Bloomberg's going to probably spend another $600 million between now and Super Tuesday.
Don't forget, I said this in the last podcast. I said it again. This isn't totally perfect, but Bernie's has a ceiling and it's also his floor. Like he's got this constant support that can't be moved, right? Like there are just a certain number of primary voters out there that are going to all in for Bernie. They don't care what he says, what he does. And by the way, we've seen this before. Look at what happened 4 years ago with Trump. You had all these candidates like Rubio and Christie and Cruz, and they're screaming, hollering, and they're like, Rubio wins Minnesota and Cruz wins Iowa. But ultimately, they couldn't get past the fact that Trump's people weren't going to move. They weren't moving to someone else. And they kept splitting all the vote. But Trump's numbers stayed the same. It's it's crazy how weirdly it's exactly the same it is, including the fact that at this point 4 years ago, Chris Christie in a debate cut off the legs of Marco Rubio when he should have gone after Trump. But he killed Rubio because both Cruz and Rubio and Christie all said they trying to get into a one-on-one matchup with Trump because that's where they thought they could win. But no one dropped out of the race. So they kept splitting all the vote, and Trump had the highest percentage. What's the same thing going on now? A lot of the Democratic Party is like screaming for Buttigieg and Warren to get out. But they're like, no, we're not getting out. So they're going to split with the vote on a lot of different levels, and that hurts Bloomberg's chances because a one-on-one match with Bloomberg and Bernie probably would be very beneficial to Bloomberg. But unless everybody gets out, that's just not going to happen.
What if, and there's speculation that Obama might say, hey, everybody except X, and he picks his X, everybody get out so that the Democratic Party has a chance. Would people follow him?
I say that there is a 99% chance that's not going to happen because he is never going to expend his political capital, ego.
Right, because he's so far
his
above
leverage.
it all.
Why would he put any leverage behind this?
Right, like he doesn't care anymore.
It doesn't matter to him.
So okay. Elizabeth Warren, I feel like there was kind of the one-on-one battle for the sort of semi-socialist alt-left people. There was a battle between Warren and Sanders. You're saying Sanders has won. The events of these caucuses and primaries have shown that Elizabeth Warren just really couldn't compete on that level. Is a reason that Warren and Buttigieg are still in the race? I would say it might be twofold. Like you said, they get a platform so they can keep talking, right? They can keep showing up at the debates. Also, probably the longer they stay in the election, the more money there is for them on the backside. Like if Pete Buttigieg decides to be an analyst or have his own TV show for MSNBC, it's a multi-million-dollar deal. Or if he gets a book deal or a Netflix deal.
I mean, the media crushed Republicans 4 years ago because they said that's why a lot of these guys run for office is to get their TV contracts, right? And then what happens when Andrew Yang gets out? He becomes a he gets a contract with CNN, right? So, well, you don't hear that same criticism, right? So, but that's exactly what it is. But here's the thing. What is Buttigieg going to do when he's off the national stage? Go back and be mayor at 100,000 town? That ego isn't going to handle that.
No, he's got all these people have raised money too, right? So they have kind of some political clout because they could use that money for either a next election or...
Well, they're all positioning themselves right now to be VP.
Right. So that's the other reason I was going to ask. Is that a reason why they stay in? Because that could go against them. If they get 0 votes in every state, how convincing is it to make them a VP? Although I guess Obama did it with Biden in 2008.
Right. Yeah. And, that's why they're in.
Clinton did that with Gore in 1992.
Yep.
Gore ran.
Yeah.
With Mayor Pete, though, again, I'm not sure what all, or with Elizabeth Warren, why is she pouring money now into Super Tuesday states? Why doesn't she kind of hoard the money a little bit so that she could just stay in for as long as possible and not spend the money? Because the money might be used for political clout.
Because the pressure will be so great on her if after Super Tuesday she hasn't done anything significant. It'll be overwhelming. She'll drop out. My prediction is underwhelming performances in Super Tuesday eliminate Warren and Buttigieg. So then it'd be Biden, Bloomberg, and Bernie, the bees, the old bees.
And what about
literally, think about that. Old septuagenarian white guys on top of the ticket for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I mean, isn't there a saying, wasn't there a saying change with the word change in it? Didn't the Democrats have a saying the audacity of change? I can't remember now. There was some, I thought it was some Obama quote about change. What was it, see?
Wasn't there hope and change?
I don't know. But anyway, that's their hope and change. And again, I'm not political.
I know. Actually, and this is true. We've had a lot of political conversations. You really are not political. You're just totally fascinated by the game.
Yeah. I mean, I got closest with some of Yang's stuff, but then I got disappointed in Yang's performance in the debates, and I didn't like the way he was. Bloomberg
pulled a Yang. He just sat there silently and took it the other day in that debate.
Well, and I think the great thing about Yang is that he had a base that was probably more excited. If you measure a level of excitement, the average excitement of the Yang Gang was probably higher than anyone else's. It was just a small base.
Yeah. Well, maybe Bernie's.
Maybe Bernie's too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so you were going to say, though, Giuliani, Bloomberg's trying to pull Giuliani with his campaign for Super Tuesday. It didn't work for Giuliani because by the time, this is in 2008.
The media has created the narrative that Bernie's won Hispanics, that Bernie's, let's say it's South Carolina. Let's go to South Carolina.
Yeah.
Right now, it's literally neck and neck. Biden has fallen down. I think 61% of the primary in South Carolina is African-American. Biden way overperforms with African-Americans, right? But if Bernie were to finish close second or first, then it's Bernie has enough of the African-American vote. He already is going to get credit for taking the Hispanic vote in Nevada. He gets credit for taking the labor vote in Nevada. He gets credit for taking the progressive white liberals in Iowa for virtually finishing, in a tie for first with Buttigieg. In the working class white voters in New Hampshire, he'll get credit for. That's what the media is going to report. The media also is going to report on, they want to report on the fight and they're more involved in the process and things like that. But that's the narrative. So when the time that Bloomberg finally gets on the ballot, which is Super Tuesday, there is this 1 month long narrative about Bernie, and people have locked in on Bernie. And I'm telling you, like primary voters in these Super Tuesday states, people like being with the winner. This is what happened with Trump. Again, it's crazy how similar this is. And I lived that whole thing. So because we did work at the time, we had a lot of candidates in 2016. We started out with Bobby Jindal. Then we ended up doing super PAC work for Ted Cruz in Iowa when he won Iowa. Then we ended up firewalling our company and doing some work for Marco Rubio in Minnesota. He won Minnesota. And then we ended up doing super PAC work for Trump after the nomination was won. We did 2 super PACs. So we were involved heavily in the primary and through the general. And I've seen this. It's crazy how similar this is. Like, I don't understand why the media doesn't look back and say, we've seen this before, but they don't want to. They want to talk about the fight. They want to talk about, and then you've got a part of the media that is naturally liberal, but they go, oh my God, Bernie will get crushed against Trump. So they're all of a sudden pulling back and trying to pump Bloomberg to a certain extent.
Yeah, I feel like because Bloomberg hasn't been tested really.
Correct.
I would say in the debates. Yeah.
Right.
But this is what I'm saying. Before that debate, I think there was a lot more positive news about Bloomberg's potential.
For sure.
Now I haven't seen that anywhere.
Right.
But before the debate, that's when they were saying, oh, Hillary Clinton for VP under Bloomberg. But did Bloomberg win any points in that debate by attacking Bernie? Remember, he called Bernie a socialist millionaire with 3 homes and blah, blah, blah.
The one thing that Bloomberg did really, really well, that unfortunately it was the last 45 minutes of the debate and people had tuned out by then and he'd already been crushed and the people that tuned out never saw it, I think he said something like, everybody on stage, raise your hand if you've started a business before, which is a great line. They're all government hacks. I'm sorry. Like, I know I'm biased. I get it. I'm on the Republican side. I get it. But anybody that has never started a business, that understands what a business owner goes through, that understands what it's like to pay unemployment, pay health care, to try to give the people that work for you more pay and give them more benefits and then struggle to, have a good EBITDA and all this. Like, all the candidates except for Bloomberg don't have any clue how that works.
Well, I think that's why there's always, whenever someone's a senator who runs, I'm always very skeptical because senator, you're 1 out of 100. You actually don't really run anything.
No.
And even when you write legislation, it's unlikely the legislation will pass, and then it's unlikely it'll be enforced, and you never really see the benefits from it. So I think this is what hurts.
This is why governors do a lot better.
Yeah, historically, other than Obama, the last senator who won, I think, was John F. Kennedy, and he had an enormous amount of money. And
you had Bush was a governor.
Reagan, Carter
was a governor.
Clinton.
Right. Clinton was a governor. Because they have executive experience. They have to create budgets.
Yeah.
Right? They have to get budgets
to run
passed,
something.
Right? They run something.
And even now, there's a lot of mayors running, right? You have guys like Bloomberg and Mayor Pete.
Yeah.
So, and you have
by the way, did I ever tell you my Buttigieg story about when I met him?
No. Was it on your Grindr profile?
No, that would be weird.
You're married.
I am. In 2000, so I just finished the Bush campaign in 2004, And this is obviously before social media, but I had a lot of leverage at that point for being the national Get Out the Vote director. And so a friend of mine reached out and said, hey, this is like in 2005. He says, hey, I know this young guy wants to kind of get involved in politics. Would you mind going to have lunch with him? And I said, sure. And he said, I'll join you guys just to kind of, so it won't be awkward or whatever. I said, yeah, it's fine. And he said, okay. So we went to the Palm in D.C. and in walks for 3-hour lunches with Pete Buttigieg. And we talked about what it would be like to run for office, what he should do, how he should start a list, how we should try to raise money and all that types of things. But this was back in 2005.
So you basically gave him the advice that started him up.
No, I
what
would
was
not.
like one piece of advice you gave him that you thought really resonated with him?
Yeah, it's the same thing I would tell any candidate that asked me. Or because in fact I was meeting with a celebrity guy who wanted to run for office recently, and I said, I don't think it's going to work. And he's like, why not? And I said, because in order to be effective, you have to have money. The golden rule, the one with the gold makes the rules, right? You have to raise money 90% of your time as an office holder. You got to raise money.
Yeah.
90. People have this romantic vision that they're going to run for office. And I know you've, ran, but like traditional running for politics, right? I'm going to go out there and I get to talk about my issues. No, you don't. No, you get to sit in a small room with a phone in front of you, making calls 24/7, asking people for money. It's humiliating. It's not fun. And it's really, really hard work. And the ones that grind it out and say, I don't care, I'll do whatever it takes to win, those are the ones that win. It's the candidates that go, I'm going to go knock on every door in my district.
So you felt your sense was that this celebrity you were talking to wouldn't be able to put his full heart into raising money, into knocking on every door.
I typically try to talk anybody that says to me they want to run. I talk them out of it.
And there's no exceptions. Like there's nobody who's just so popular from being like
Bloomberg,
a warrior.
He doesn't have to raise money.
But like, okay, what about like a John McCain when he first ran in Arizona? Was he such a war hero? Oh, but he had his wife's money too. His wife had like
but it
several
helps.
hundred million.
But he also had to raise a lot of money.
Yeah.
But 99% of candidates don't have that kind of brand.
Yeah.
They just don't have a brand.
So what about Pete
the thing
Buttigieg?
is, I said, are you prepared to raise money 90% of your time as a candidate? And the other 10% is not doing press conferences and it's literally knocking on doors and asking people for the vote. So Mayor Pete ran for mayor of
South Bend,
Indiana. He lost the first time he ran.
He lost, or he also lost. Didn't he run for treasurer? Or
no,
something?
he ran. Oh, he made. Yeah, I think he did. He also ran for chairman of the Democrat National Committee and lost. So, my thing is, I know how to get you to victory, but the candidate has to be willing to do what it takes.
What impressed you about Mayor Pete when you saw him? Did anything? Because clearly he went far.
I mean, this is 15 years ago, so I don't have a huge memory of it. Other than I remember, what a weird last name. Other than this, I said that guy is way over ambitious. Like his ambition was over the top, and I remember it back then. Like I was like, this guy is like, like people that run for president, they have crazy ambition, right? Clinton always said he was going to run for president.
Yeah,
right?
since he was a kid.
Right. Obviously Obama had a crazy ambition. I mean, Bush, just because of the family legacy, had ambition. But this guy had no affiliation to anything. And I got that weird, like, spidey sense in me. I was like, God, this guy's way ambitious, like over the top.
So we haven't seen the last of him, probably.
No.
So
he will run again, and he'll be in a good position. Listen, Bernie, how many times has Bernie run? Once or twice? I can't remember.
Well, he ran last time. He threatened to run in 2008.
Okay.
And he didn't. I think somehow he was talked out of it.
He's run twice, but most of the time, I write about this in my book too. But like George W. Bush ran for Congress in 1978 and lost. Then he ran for governor. Then he ran for president. Right. Obama ran for Congress and lost. Then he ran for state senate. Then he ran for U.S. Senate. George H.W. Bush ran for Senate and lost. Like Clinton was the youngest governor in the country, and then he was the youngest ex-governor in the country, right?
And then he won again.
Then he ran again and won, right?
Yeah.
So typically, this is the ambition part, because you see the loss not as the end, but as the beginning.
Okay, this is just an interesting trivia thing. Reagan never lost an election, as far as I can tell.
He lost the 76 presidential campaign.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He ran in a primary against Ford.
So, but Ford was an incumbent. It's probably difficult in a primary to win against the incumbent. I mean, Ford wasn't unpopular. And Reagan came close.
He did,
and was kind of offered the VP spot, but it didn't work out. The negotiations didn't work out. So Reagan could have won something there. It's just it got weird. But Nixon lost, obviously, several. He lost even for governor after losing the presidential in 1960, and then he came back. John F. Kennedy never lost, I don't believe.
Okay.
I'm trying to think who else. Carter never lost.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I can think of.
I don't remember. I don't know if Carter ran. I know he was governor of Georgia, but I don't know if he had run before and lost. I just can't remember.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think he just is like war hero guy.
Right.
So the other thing I was going to ask about the debates was, I forget now. All right. So South Carolina's coming up. Oh, why doesn't Bloomberg run in South Carolina? Given that I feel like every new election, South Carolina is pivotal because it's the first one that signals where the African American vote's going.
I may be totally wrong on this. I just think there probably was a deadline that you had to be, sort of I think like these states have deadlines that you have to sort of apply to be on the ballot. He may have missed that deadline. So, other than that, I think what they basically said, again, it's the Giuliani model. They said, look, what is it, like 2 or 3% of all the delegates are decided between Iowa and Hampshire and South Carolina. Screw that. Let's go. I've got the resources and the money. This is Bloomberg's thinking, in my opinion. Screw that. I'm going to the big states. By the way, he's right in this. Warren and Buttigieg are flat broke. Biden has raised. He's historically been an atrocious fundraiser. He's done that again this time. He doesn't have much money at all, right? So, and Bernie is the only one that's a viable fundraiser that has money to compete, right? So Warren is like spending $3 million in all these Super Tuesday states, and Bloomberg's spending $450 million. So you got $450 million to $3 million. So my point is like, he said, I can go spend money where nobody else. I kind of admire it. Like he says, I'm going to go into the lane that no one else is doing. The problem is the media it's just like Trump got, $1 billion in free media in 2016. Well, Bernie is getting that now.
Oh my gosh, I love these clothes. Mizzen and Main. That's Mizzen and Main. It really is the most comfortable work clothes. Travel clothes. I had to travel this whole week. I'm traveling for a week and a half, and I just took Mizzen and Main clothes with me. Close out 2023 in style with comfortable, breathable, packable, and machine washable pieces from Mizzen and Main. As you wrap up your year-end goals, enjoy a Mizzen and Main dress shirt that you can wear confidently. I like that they've very, very just nice, solid colors. I don't really like to get all fancy in patterns and everything, although they do have some pattern shirts, but very comfortable clothes, stretchable pants. It's just super comfortable, but they look professional, and you can wear them casually or professionally. I like some of their flannel shirts or untuck shirts. I love untuck. I never tuck in. So again, whether you're shopping for a special someone or giving yourself the gift you really want, I just buy myself gifts. Mizzen and Main is the perfect gift for any guy who works, travels, and or cares about looking and feeling great. As you could tell by my many photos across the internet, I care about looking fantastic. I'm practically a model. And let's be honest, every guy loves to look great. So again, shop now at mizzenandmain.com and save 20% when you spend $130 or more using promo code James. That's promo code James at Mizzen and Main, Mizzen and Main.com.
These days, we're all investors, trying to be smart with our money despite our worst impulses. But at iShares, we believe that deep down inside of every investor is a better investor. one that's just waiting to be let out. Explore iShares ETFs and insights and let your best investor out. Visit iShares.com for more information.
You know what I love about fantasy sports is that even though I'm not going to be a great basketball player or a baseball player or a football player or whatever, I feel like I get to participate and make decisions and use my knowledge of these different leagues or these different sports to compete. So it's like I can pick my team or I can pick my favorite players and I could use my knowledge to make predictions and maybe even make money. So with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League on Prize Picks. This is a league created specifically for combo projections that include two or more players from different sports or leagues. Want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, who's also been a guest on this podcast, and I've been a guest on his? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Look, Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. What? So, I love playing it. I love anywhere where I can use analytical ability with my interests to demonstrate some skill and maybe make some money. And I like the game-like aspect. I do wish they had chess as a category on prizepicks.com, but I'll settle for what they've got. Maybe I should make my own fantasy chess league. But in any case, I love Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/James. Use code James for a first deposit match up to $100. That's the easiest $100 you're ever going to make. So that's prizepicks.com/James and use code James. Daily fantasy sports made easy.
So if Bernie wins in South Carolina, you think nothing can... I mean, the Super Tuesdays, like all these southern states, are they going to vote for Bernie Sanders?
Yeah. Right now, he'll pull more delegates.
Even though Bloomberg is going to just bombard those states with as many as possible.
Like if Bernie wins South Carolina, I would tell you, I think he's got this thing. It's done. If Bernie loses South Carolina...
Won't the media be flipping out? Like, and they're all,
They're already flipping out.
Like, so won't they try to boost Bloomberg up? I'm not advocating for this, but I'm just wondering how are they going to keep the fight going, past South Carolina, just for their sake.
You're going to get... Look... But the problem with it is, like, when you have multiple candidates, even like if Biden stays in, which I think he will after South Carolina, you're pulling votes from Bloomberg. Like Biden's name ID, his brand is so elevated, it's enough to get him 8% or 10%.
And why would he stay in?
Because
doesn't want to be embarrassed?
These guys, first of all, it's ego, but also they go, no. I've been vice president. Bloomberg's never done anything. Like that is internally in their mind. That's it. They're so biased in their own campaigns. And I've seen this across the board, Republicans, Democrats, and they've been working on it for a year. You're supposed to just give everything up. It's like, no, I got to keep fighting. Like,
yeah, because this is his last chance.
Yeah.
So you might as well
barely. It's barely, even this time it's barely.
Well, that's the other thing too. He must be aware that he's not in the best of health. And people watching him are aware.
It's hurt.
Unless it's been built up by the media. Oh, they're only focusing on these moments where he seems to be a little bit off balance. But his supporters also don't really seem that excited. They just seem like they feel... I think the machine is obligated to support him. Like I see from people who are just like heads of their local Democratic committees, they're always for Biden and they don't question his health. But why don't they question his health? Why don't people look a little bit below the surface?
Well, if he was a Republican, they'd question his health.
If they were working for Republican committees,
the media would question his health if he was a Republican.
That's probably
just
true
because of the bias.
But the media even questions Biden's health now. Kind of like his fan base is not rabid like Bernie Sanders.
And there's another golden rule in politics: intensity trumps everything. Sorry, that was not a pun. I mean, it beats everything. So where's the intensity? Is it Bernie? Yeah.
Yes.
Are people intense for Bloomberg?
I feel like
Bloomberg people are. I don't know.
But is that playing in California or, I mean,
I
right now,
honestly, 'cause
Bernie's.
right now we're sitting in New York City, and New York City loves Bloomberg.
Right.
So when I see people on the street, they all say to me, "Bloomberg's running. What do you think?" And like everyone's kind of gung ho for Bloomberg here because this is his city.
Right. But California is going to be a huge state, and Bernie's annihilating everybody there right now. So
yeah, because I guess if you think
it's
about
intensity. And by the way, I don't know if I've said this in the last interview we did, but if you were to go out and do a national poll and ask Democrats what the number one issue is for them in going into 2020, what issue do you think is the one issue driving them to vote?
I mean, I'm just trying to think of what a Bernie issue would be. I kind of don't think it's healthcare. I think it's income inequality.
Yeah. So it's a total trick question. It's beat Trump.
Well, okay. So let me ask you about this.
That's an intensity.
Right.
That's intensity.
So that seems to me to be an ineffective strategy. And maybe I'm wrong, but like when I was watching 2 or 3 debates ago, all Amy Klobuchar would say is, I could beat Trump. I could beat Trump.
We haven't even talked about her.
Yeah, we haven't talked about her because she's not going to win. But she's reasonable as a VP candidate.
She is.
But all she ever says is beat Trump. It doesn't strike me as the best strategy to constantly be saying the name of your opponent because all people remember is Trump.
But Bernie cornered that market. He cornered it 4 years ago when he was trying to, whether it was helping Hillary or not. I mean, he's been, on this path for 4 years. So everybody can talk about Trump. That's great, right? But who's going to have more credibility with voters on anti-Trump? And that's Bernie.
But okay, Bernie's got that rabid fan base, and it's the core of the Democratic Party that's voting in these primaries. But it is, he is a socialist. The United States is not typically a socialist country. I can't think of the last time someone who called themselves a socialist was maybe Eugene Debs in like the 1910s. Okay, but Henry Wallace in 1948 was kind of a socialist and running. So that's my knowledge of socialist and presidential campaigns. And now Bernie Sanders, they don't really win in the United States.
Well, all the internal polling I'm seeing right now is he'd get crushed. But hold on, that's right now. And be careful what you wish for. I don't care if this was, all the Hillary people said, oh my God, I hope we get Trump. Well, be careful what you wish for. Because when it's a one-on-one race and you have so much volatility between the two candidates, anything can happen. So Trump, it's funny. These never Trumpers, right? There's these moderate Democrat Republicans that all came out 4 years ago and said, I'm a never Trumper. I'll never vote for Trump. Now they're coming out of the woodwork and now I'm going, all right, well, between Bernie and Trump, I guess I'll be with Trump.
Yeah, like if someone's a moderate and they work hard and their federal income tax rate is 39% and Bernie's saying, oh no, we want to make it 52%.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Or are they not going to vote? Or are they going to?
I'll give you a very specific
They might
example.
do never 52.
You and Robin had this party in December at your house.
For a Democratic candidate, I might add.
Yeah.
For mayor.
And I got invited. And I ended up talking to a couple hedge fund guys here. And all of the, and trust me, every time, this is the first time I've been on a, New York party circuit, right? But if I go to
first time we were on the New York party circuit.
I know. But
I'm not like a big.
But if I am in a social situation, right? And people will be like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, crap. Because somebody gets mad, inevitably, right? So you can imagine when someone asked me this in the Upper West Side of New York.
This is the AOC zip code, fundraising zip code.
Shit. I'm like, I do some marketing stuff. And they're like, oh, what kind of marketing? And I'm like, I blame politics. Oh, who specifically? And you're like, shit. Because I know it's going to have some kind of crazy reaction, right? And if I'm in the South, people hug me. Oh, you're the Republicans. They love it, And up here, and when I was in D.C., it was literally I got kicked out of restaurants when a bartender would find out that I did what I did.
You're kidding.
No, this is back in the Obama days.
So wait, what?
The wokeness of the world, I saw this in D.C. back in 2009, 2010. But anyway, so I said to this, it was like 4 or 5 hedge fund people, men and women. And I said, well, we've done work. We do work in the Republican Party, and I've done work for super PAC supporting Trump, and that they all looked at me and they go, well, we kind of support him. And I go, what? I was like, excuse me?
It's amazing how many people wink to each other
They do.
in New York.
I got the wink.
But by the way, just to
they go, we can't say this out loud. I would never tell my parents this. I would never tell anything. But no, there's, if it's Bloomberg, we'll be with Bloomberg. But other than that, we're with Trump.
Well,
that's what they told me.
Just to mention, at that party, there were definitely, it was probably 50-50. There were people who you could have said that to who really would have tried to kill you right then.
Right.
But, and the candidate we were hosting that party for was Eric Adams, who's running for mayor of New York. But New York's a weird place because think about the mayors. Look at Ed Koch and Bloomberg. They were Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
And Giuliani was definitely Republican, and Eric's definitely Democrat.
Right.
But he announced he carries a gun to church, so it's not. Political parties here are weird, except at the national level.
Right.
At the local level, it's not a given. I mean, you even have in the 70s, you had John Lindsay was a liberal Republican who was mayor here. So it's a little. New York City is weird on local politics.
Right.
It's not one or the other.
No.
necessarily.
I get it.
But it is interesting though how many people they can't say what they think, but they'll both and they don't know where I'm at, so they'll both sides wink to me.
Right.
So
yeah, but obviously the economy is going really well. The financial markets are going really well. No one wants that disrupted.
Nobody wants the capital gains tax to be eliminated.
And trust me on this. If Bernie is elected, it will affect the stock market. There's no.
Well, I was
doubt
just
in my
saying
mind.
this to Robin today because preparing for this podcast. Everybody. I know what his issues were, but I was always curious. Well, how is he going to pay for all these $30 trillion worth of programs? And look, if he could pay for them, power to him. Yang, I thought, put together a decent plan how he's going to pay for UBI using a VAT tax and so on. But Sanders is going to put he's going to get rid of capital gains, which means you're going to have to sell your stocks before he takes office, or else you're messed up. You're going to pay double the taxes, or more. So the stock market, and maybe this is a good thing. I don't know. The stock market's had a good 10-year run. Maybe it needs to take a little 20 or 30% break, but that's at the minimum of what it's going to fall,
Sure.
I think. And again, I'm not saying whether that's bad or good.
I know.
You need the stock market to correct every now and then. And, the other thing is that, he'll get rid of the capital gains. He's going to put the speculation tax on short-term trading of stocks. So he's going to penalize long-term holding, and he's going to penalize short-term holding. No one's going to want to put their money in stocks. It's going to affect the economy because the stock market is not a game. It's how companies raise money to hire people and to invent things. Like SpaceX will go public to invent rocket ships that will take people to Mars. If they can't go public, it's
yeah.
I mean, actually,
Anderson Cooper interviewed him on 60 Minutes on last weekend and did a really good job of saying, okay, specifically, how would you pay for these things? And he couldn't answer. And that's the big internally from the Bloomberg campaign to the Warren campaign.
But that's why just in the past 48 hours, though, he put out something.
The criticism of Bernie internally with all these campaigns is all he does is talk in platitudes.
But in the past 48 hours, to address this, he did put out, here's
sure,
how
he
I'll
has
pay.
to. It was a bad moment for him. Not only the Cuba part, but also he can't explain how he paid for these things.
But the main thing is basically he's going to up, from what I understand, he's going to up for most people your federal income tax rate from 39% to 52% of the highest earners. He's going to get rid of capital gains, which moves your capital gains income from 20% to whatever the highest income tax rate is. He was more vague on this, but he's going to tax corporations more aggressively. He's going to have various wealth taxes, the same way Elizabeth Warren is, but his number is lower for a wealth tax. So he kind of explained it again. There was criticism. The numbers don't add up, which it's hard to add up to $30 trillion. So I don't know, and that's kind of the low side on what he wants to spend. So I don't know, but again, on the game theory side, it does strike me that telling everybody they're going to have less money doesn't seem like a winning strategy.
And this is why Trump is doing really well on a head-to-head matchup. And don't listen. Stop paying attention to national head-to-head matchup polls. National polls don't mean anything. The polls that mean anything are in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin.
Florida?
And North Carolina. Nope, Florida's already done. After the Cuba debacle on 60 Minutes, where he basically praised Castro on 60 Minutes last weekend, not only was Florida pretty much 90% off the board for any Democrat, It's moved solidly into the Republican category, but it's over for Bernie there now. Unless, again, there's always these moments in politics that like some nuclear bomb goes off and it ruins a candidate, right? There,
Well-
like something were to happen. But I mean, I'm not saying, I just don't know. Like,
Skipping ahead, like if it was like let's hypothetically say it was a Bloomberg Klobuchar ticket. Let's just say whatever happened in the
Yeah,
middle.
that'd be a fun little fight.
Is that a path for the Democrats? So,
Yes.
so Bloomberg would win Florida, Klobuchar would take these northern states.
Yeah.
So could that be a path for the Democrats?
Absolutely.
So if the Democrats really, like, the big saying in the past 3 years was, Trump's a fascist, Trump's this, Trump's that, Trump's, they would compare him to the worst people in history. If they really truly believe that, wouldn't they all kind of come together and say, hey, let's come up with the right ticket to that all the machines say are going to beat Trump? Or do they not believe that?
So this is all I have to say is go back and look in 2016. The Never Trumpers came out and said, we can't have this. We got to have Jeb, or we got to have Marco, or we got to have Ted. Like, it can't be Trump. He's going to lose. It's 100% chance. Like, we're going into suicide mission. And the voters of Trump said, nope, not budging. This is what we believe. We're voting on principle. And what happened?
I mean,
Trump won.
So
I give Bernie supporters credit. They believe. They do. They're not trying to win. They believe. And I respect the hell out of that, actually.
I mean, I do see one path to victory for Sanders in one certain type of situation, but I wanna hit the rest of these primaries first, though, which is you got Super Tuesday coming up.
Yeah.
Your point is that the media narrative is so strong now for Sanders. But again, it doesn't seem like the media wants Sanders. So going into Super Tuesday with Bloomberg spending another $400 million, say, aren't they going to try to, pretend there's a man-on-man fight here?
My grandmother, who died about 3 years ago at 101 years old, voted for Bill Clinton twice, and she was from Montgomery, Alabama, and grew up in segregated South, and voted for Bill Clinton twice. And I said,
in the same election?
Yeah. No, that would be Chicago. And she said, and I asked her, I said, Gan, why did you vote for Clinton? And she said, because he's a winner. Huh. People vote for the winners. But Bernie now will have tied Iowa, one New Hampshire, one Nevada, close to tie, one in South Carolina, finishes second in South Carolina, whatever it is. And people in California see that. They see the media promoting that. They see that he got Hispanic vote. And they go, well, I want to vote for the guy that gets the Hispanic vote. They see they got the labor vote, and they go, I want to be with the guy that got the labor vote. Do I want to be with the Bloomberg guy? He hasn't won anything. He's just throwing a bunch of money at this.
So you kind of see Bloomberg, like, because you're saying
he's going to do
Biden
okay.
and Sanders
He may win
1 and 2.
some states, but you got to understand, like, he's not winning enough to win the nomination at this point.
Even though only 26 delegates have been assigned out of a 1,900 needed to
the
win.
Democrats, and you're talking to the wrong person on this, but they have a super delegate, a formula, all this stuff, and it makes it virtually impossible after Super Tuesday. If you have a certain amount of delegates, you're pretty much on the path to winning. And by the way, this happened with Obama and Hillary. Hillary stayed into the race until like April in 2008. And she's had no chance of winning. Like, literally, it was over. She stayed in for another month and kept winning states, but it didn't matter. The math was impossible to get to a victory. And so what you're seeing in the math now is that what it appears to be is that after Super Tuesday, Bernie's math is going to be insurmountable.
Because you're saying Bloomberg's just not going to pull Super Tuesday, no matter how much money he spends.
He may win some states, but the delegate totals between Bernie and everybody else will be significant enough that he'll have the math on his side to win the nomination.
Why won't Bloomberg get the super delegates? I mean, he's been funding congressional campaigns forever.
I mean, you could see a rebellion. It'd be really fun and interesting to see a brokered convention, which people are talking about. But again, people talked about a brokered convention with Trump. And I even went on ESPN, because back then on ESPN, you could talk politics. But I'd go on ESPN 16 and say, my God, I think it's going to be a brokered convention. I think that Cruz could get the nomination in a brokered convention. I would go on Steve, our friend Paul Feinbaum's show, and that can happen. That's a possibility. It's a low propensity possibility, though.
So you don't see any after South Carolina, just because of the media will be blessing Bernie Sanders as the new king, you don't see Bloomberg. There's no path. Do you see any path?
Well, no. After Super Tuesday, think about this: if Bernie has more delegates and wins the big states, now
before Super Tuesday, after South Carolina, but before Super Tuesday.
No. After Super Tuesday,
Okay.
let's say he takes California and other big states. Bloomberg wins some. At that point, it probably would just be Bloomberg and Bernie at that point. But the momentum is just going to be too heavy for Bernie. I mean, again, the narrative will be those first 4 states, the demographics of Bernie's votes, the young people, the Hispanics, the African American. Like, he's got everything, and that's going to be the media is going to control a lot of this narrative going forward.
Okay, so
they always do.
So
that's why it's so hard to skip these early states.
And Bloomberg, he knew that, but he figured, okay, if all these guys split up, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, it'll still be open for me on Super Tuesday. Everyone will use Super Tuesday as kind of a free-for-all, and it'll still be open for me. He miscalculated, perhaps, that Bernie Sanders would, A, get the free media exposure that he's getting now, and B, that he would simply win all 3 places, or all 4 places.
Yeah, I think money and ego probably said, I can clear a path from Super Tuesday on.
I'll make one historic. Like you say, the Giuliani strategy typically doesn't work, which is skipping Iowa, New Hampshire. RFK in 1968 didn't enter the race until like May, and then suddenly he was winning.
Right.
So and then he was killed, but
yeah, that didn't work out.
So he lost,
right.
but lost overall. How will Bloomberg drop out? When's he could just stay in it forever.
Yeah, and
he could be a third party.
Maybe I'm going to stay in it and try to have a brokered convention. I mean, there's a million ways it can go. I think we got to see what happens at Super Tuesday, and then things are really going to shake out. And there's a million possibilities out of it, but I'm just telling you, the odds say at this point, it's Bernie's to lose.
And so thinking about VP candidates.
By the way, I hope you don't put this out like in 3 weeks.
No, Jay, we got to put this out. What day is it today? Tuesday? We got to put this out Thursday.
Thursday, cool.
Thursday, can we do that? All right, good. Bernie. Now I have money on the VP candidate.
Okay.
But this is from way back. I put it just a small bet on Sherrod Brown at 20-1 odds. Senator from Ohio. Mm-hmm. He was the one who probably should have been the VP candidate for Clinton 4 years ago in 2016. Right. But she was doing a favor for Terry McAuliffe. She picked Tim Kaine. Sherrod Brown was on paper probably the better candidate for the Midwest and so on. Now he's at 1 cent. He's 100-1 odds. And Nina Turner, who is just basically an employee of Bernie Sanders, is the number 1 choice on the prediction markets for the VP candidate. But who's he's not going to pick someone to balance the ticket. He's going to pick another socialist.
No, I think he probably would. Listen, the vice president serves at the behest of the president. So having a balance will help you get elected. I would tell you Klobuchar is a candidate for sure. Midwest woman. Right, I don't think you should eliminate all white guys from the vice president.
In the prediction markets, by the way, it's Sherrod Brown although he's at the bottom, he's the only white guy. There's 11 women in front of him, and Nina Turner is an African American woman.
Yeah, I know. So I would tell you it would probably it's going to be a woman. I just don't know. Again, it depends on how everything kind of shakes out. It could be a Kamala Harris.
Yeah, she's in the running there.
Right.
Tulsi Gabbard's in the running there, but I don't think it's going to be her.
Tulsi and Bernie people I don't think get along very well.
Well, I think she pissed off the whole, correct me if I'm wrong, she pissed off the whole Democrat Party when she voted present on the impeachments.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of like she has no party right now.
No.
But I feel she has an agenda with that somehow.
She's also, I have a friend of mine that worked for her, and this was... right when she got to Congress, like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. And I asked, I went over to the office and had lunch with this person, and I was like, well, what's Tulsi like? I mean, this is before any national profile. And she said, oh, she's ambitious. It's one of the most ambitious people I've ever been around. So she's got ambition. That means she's got something up her sleeve. I just don't know what it is.
Could there be a Bloomberg-Gabbard third party run?
No,
it's not happening this year, the third party thing.
Bloomberg is not going to choose. She's too much of a wild card. He wants control.
Yeah.
So I would say a female for sure on Bernie's side.
So
it could be Warren.
Yeah, it could be all of it. Seems like they're both Northeastern, both in their 70s, both socialists. So it doesn't seem like a winning strategy, but I could be wrong because they're basically the middle of the country has been carved up. The fringes on both sides have been kind of winning for the past 5 years, really, because Bernie had a
it's
strong
so funny.
chance.
I mean, even the moderate Republicans and Democrats have been locked out. This is the second election. If Bernie gets a nomination, this is the second election cycle where they've been locked out. And it's just crazy if you think about it. Because you think about it, we're probably, the fringe represents 30% on either side, right? But the vast majority is between the left and the right in the middle.
But maybe they don't vote in primaries.
But they're not intense. They have no intensity.
Yeah. You think they'll get...
They're out there like working, not paying attention to politics, raising their kids, going to soccer practice. Like they're living. They're not focused on the election.
Well,
and there's a lack of intensity. I'm just
people,
saying, I know this from the data. Like this is what the data says.
But I also ask people pretty regularly, what decision has any president of the United States ever made that has changed your life? And they'll mention things that clearly there are decisions presidents make that change lives. Like if you went to war in Iraq, Bush's decision changed your life. But for the average person, the president it's more local politics affects your life.
Correct.
Even.
What were the dire predictions about how Trump would literally take us down the drain, that life would be over, that the country won't exist in the same way, like all these doomsday scenarios. And by the way, it's not exclusive to the Democrats. Republicans did this with Obama. Oh my God, the end of the world. He's a socialist. He's going to do those things. No, he didn't affect us that much.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, the president really doesn't affect you that much. Now, if Bernie was even to get 10% of his programs passed, it would be pretty interesting to see what that effect. It'd be a bigger effect.
Well, okay, so let's go to the national stage now. Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump. First off, Trump I assume he doesn't get rid of his VP candidate. Pence has been fine for him.
Yeah.
Again, whether you disagree politically, it's a good balance for him. Trump versus Bernie Sanders. What's your gut? And then let's break it down. Your gut being
you're
based
asking
on
me something that's impossible to tell. And I mean, we're talking about this in February. What's going to happen in November?
Yeah, let's say the world looks like how it looks now.
Well, Trump wins easily. It'll be a blowout.
Well, okay, so break that down. Like,
and I'm not, listen, there are certain states Trump's going to carry, there's certain states Bernie's going to carry, right? And then you got to figure out, and I think we may have played the electoral math the last time I was on here, but nothing much.
The first time I think you were skeptical, like a year ago, you were skeptical of the electoral math because you thought there would be greater turnout among the Democrats.
I did.
And that would drive those key states.
But here's where the things you don't see. Impeachment has helped Trump. It did not help. Okay,
tell me how.
Oh, there was a poll that just came out. Politico reported on it yesterday. The Democrats just ran in like the 52 most targeted House congressional races in the country right now. The ones that maybe Hillary won, but or maybe a Democrat won there in 2018, but Trump won in 2016. Right? There's these subsets of congressional races. Impeachment in those Democratic congressional districts that Trump won, like I think 55% were against impeachment and thought he got a raw deal. I mean, the intensity level on the Republican side blew up. If you look at the polling internally from September of 2019 to today, Trump is on a forward or a vertical trajectory with voters. The intensity level has gone up for the first time. So before that, especially in the 2018 election, the intensity level was all on the Democrat side. That's why they won so big in 2018. But now the impeachment has woken up voters that support Trump, but maybe just didn't have a large intensity for it. And so, even there was a poll that came out the other day in Wisconsin, a statewide poll, that Trump was trouncing Bernie. Now, Trump has been losing the one-on-one matchups, whether it's one-on-one with Biden, Warren, or whatever. He's been losing all of them for the last 2 years. And now he's clearly ahead in a one-on-one with Bernie. So what that tells me is not only is the intensity of Republican voters come into play, but then you've got a lot of voters that say, I don't want the socialist policies of Bernie. I may not like Trump, but I'll hold my nose again.
So that might be... That might affect the turnout. It might affect people who are on the fence.
Right. But Trump's leading Bernie in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in Michigan. Listen, Florida and Ohio are off the table. Trump's winning those no matter what.
Which is interesting because, I mean, Florida obviously was the key states in both 2016 and 2000 in particular.
I was on the recount.
And so look how close it was. Now you're saying it's just a blur. Are people going to really remember Sanders' comment on Cuba? Do they even know? Does the average person know?
Then Sanders came out and said, that the AIPAC, the Jewish Political Action Committee, there was he wasn't going to speak at their conference this week, and that
so he's going to lose the Jews and the Hispanics, which are the only people in Florida. I'm
in Florida.
Well, Florida man is in Florida.
Maybe I'm Florida man.
You're Florida man, and then there's the Jews and the Hispanics.
Right. So I think Bernie has completely jeopardized himself with Jewish voters right now because of the comments and frankly his past policies. Like, that's what he believes.
Yeah.
He's completely annihilated the Cuban community, and
they know that.
They know it.
Because I don't know, sometimes when people say stuff in the news, does it really get communicated down to, does everybody know what
within the Cuban voting bloc? Of course. That is a huge,
because that's their main issue.
Active voting bloc. Well, it's the main issue for the old Cubans. The younger Cubans don't care as much because enough time has passed. But trust me, when you're that overt, like Bernie was this past week, saying, I'm not for authoritarianism, but Castro did some good things. He had a literacy program.
There's a lot of jokes on Twitter after that.
It's insane. It's an insane comment, right? So that is going to play even to the younger Cuban demographic.
Does Sanders think he can win?
Of course he does. Of course.
Or is there some other motive?
No. He's 78. What other motive does he have?
Right. Yeah. Well, okay, so is the health issue, he's not released some of his health issues regarding his heart.
Yeah.
Could that be an issue, or people won't care really?
I don't think Trump won't release his medical issues. Trump won't release his taxes, and no one cares. That's why they don't release them. No one. This is a media contrived story. Maybe it's legitimate. You want to know whether your presidential candidate is healthy and going to be able to serve in office, but it's not an intense issue. The media they screamed over Trump's health and taxes, right? It didn't affect him. It just didn't affect it. People were just like, what? That's not why we're voting for president.
So if you're,
so they don't care about Bernie.
On a national level, if you were making a campaign strategy for Sanders, what would you focus on? And I'll ask the same about Trump.
White working class voters.
So you basically say, but how? So all these people,
because that's where the election's going to come down.
But they're at the highest employment levels ever, right? Everybody's at the highest employment level ever. Right. They're making bigger income than ever. How could Sanders get those votes?
He can. He already is. He's going after the labor vote, which is a lot of the Midwest white working class worker. It belongs to a union and stuff like that. But that is his key, is the working class white voter. It's Trump's key, but Trump's secondary key is African Americans. And he has made a lot of moves in the African American community. Now, I'm going to get annihilated for saying that, but hear me out. If Trump, I think he got one of the highest shares ever of African American vote for a Republican candidate in 2016, right?
I didn't know that.
I think Romney I'm totally coming up with these numbers out of thin air, so I know that somewhere, but he beat Romney by 2 points of whatever Romney got, right? And so it's not that Trump is going to get 50% of the African American vote. That's not going to happen. But if Trump can get the white working class voters in the Midwest, right? In Pennsylvania and Michigan, right? And Wisconsin, and those sort of the Rust Belt. But if he can take the African American vote from, let's say, 8% in 2016 and get it to 12%, then he's got this thing.
So
I'm not saying he's going to win the African American vote. I'm saying if he got 12%, it'd be the highest percentage any Republicans ever gotten in the history of American politics.
So make a campaign for Sanders. What would your campaign? What would it look like for Sanders?
I would
an ad.
Nothing but camp out in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, because that's where it all counts.
And if you were to make a TV ad, what would it look like
for Sanders?
Yeah.
Oh, it would be it'd be testimonials from white working class voters. Telling their personal story and telling how Bernie is going to help them.
And would they be sob stories? Would they, we used to have this and now we don't?
You could take white working class voters in Vermont and talk about the policies that he's supported and how it's benefited their life.
But how would you go negative on Trump?
Because you're a big proponent of negative ads for politics.
Yeah, I just wrote for my subscribers. I predicted on last Friday, that the negative ad that Bloomberg was soon to launch negative ads because he's seeing that Bernie's taking the mantle.
Yeah.
And on Monday, like literally 2 days later, he launched his first negative ad on Bernie.
What did it say?
It was so Bernie has been pro NRA. People may not know that.
I did not know that.
He's been supported by over Republican candidates for the U.S. Senate in Vermont by the NRA. He's been endorsed by the NRA in the past, right? Over the last 4 years, he started to go, oops, I got to get on the right side of this for a Democratic primary. So he sort of started switching his positions. So Bloomberg is running right now. I don't know where it's running, but he's running an NRA or an ad on how Bernie has been supported by the NRA, that he voted for pro-gun legislation, and he's said insensitive comments that have been about.
Is it working?
I don't know. They just launched it Monday.
So Sanders, if he was going to do an anti-Trump TV ad, what would he do?
I probably focus on any kind of policy that hasn't worked, that's hurt people.
Like, what's one that's hurt people?
I don't know.
Like white working class people that you're saying Sanders is going to go for?
Yeah. And I would also probably focus on African Americans, and they're going to play the race card.
Yeah.
So they're going to say racist, racist, racist. This is what they do every time. They're all racist. They're all racist. They're all racist.
So what's Trump's anti-Sanders campaign going to look like?
Oh man, that's a treasure
You wrote
trove.
that campaign, so I want to hear.
The reason I say that is not so much on the bias. I'm biased. Don't get me wrong. But the fact is that Trump's been defined. Everybody knows everything about Trump. So it's really hard to say something that would stick. He's pretty Teflon, right?
Right.
But with Bernie, he just hasn't had a negative campaign run against him at all, if you think about it.
Hillary never threw out a negative ad?
I mean, I'm sure, but maybe it was in one state, right? It was just not, he's really never been punched. I'm done. He's not going to be punched. Yeah, he's going to be, Tyson Furied on Deontay Wilder the other night? Like he is going to like literally just stand over him and punch him all day long. Now, voters could get sick and tired of that, and that could help Bernie, right?
But Trump's
there could be a
style-
fatigue with that. But the fact is that you can do breadlines, you can do communists, you can literally take Bernie's on camera from the 1980s talking about how great communism is. He's talking about how great Fidel is. I mean, they've never had an opposition research dump on him, and it's about to go into effect. And what's going to happen, every smart presidential campaign's done this. Clinton did it to Dole, and Obama did it to Romney in 2012, but you start early. So Trump would be extremely smart that starting in April, May, June, that they drop $200 million worth of national ads defining Bernie before Bernie can define himself to the rest of the country.
So I'm curious what you think of this scenario that, let's say Corona. So I'm not going to debate about coronavirus, the pandemic. Like nobody knows anything what's going on. You don't know if this pandemic's going to go
You
over
may
the
have
world.
it right now. You may have it.
We
right
all
now.
may have
Right.
it, for all we know. And because it's asymptomatic for a while. Jay over there definitely has it. So he just raised his hand. But here's what worries me about coronavirus is that China has basically shut down all the factories.
Yeah.
And it turns out now that it's almost like the water has come in and we've seen everyone standing naked in the, whatever the saying is, I don't know. But it turns out the world had no plan B on manufacturing. Like all the heartbeat of the world's manufacturing, for better or for worse, has been China for the past 10 years. And we didn't know that until now. So it seems like lots of small businesses, if these factories stay shut even another month or two, you're going to see thousands of small businesses that go out of business, which means people are going to be upset and angry.
Well, you're asking me what are these anomalies in the marketplace, in the election marketplace, that could help Bernie. This is exactly it.
So if all the factories are shut down, rich people stay rich, but now the last remaining middle class instantly goes broke.
Yeah,
goes broke.
Trump can get ahead of. They should get ahead of it. First of all, they should make it about China, not about Trump, because the Democrats will make it about Trump. And then Trump needs to say, this is why I've been campaigning on America first.
Yeah.
And that we should have all our manufacturing here. And there's
still,
a way
everyone's
to
gonna
spin it.
get-
Agreed. I'm
they're
not
gonna
saying. I'm not
be
saying
so
he's
upset and
anybody's
angry.
going to get off scot free, whether it's Bernie or Trump. But the fact is that that's how I would play it. Is I'd be very proactive right now,
Yeah.
starting right now, and that usually people get involved when it's too late.
Well, I don't know if you know, he's
playing
in
defense.
India right now because he's
Right.
trying to basically open up manufacturing there.
Yeah.
And, this is neither here nor there for the election, but if I were him, I'd pressure China to open up all the factories because it's not clear that
Correct.
quarantining is working. So you might as well just get back to business and stop something that's going to affect 7 billion people versus something that affects an unknown amount of people, but much smaller than 7 billion. So panic will affect the entire world, whereas the virus will affect a lot of people, but not as much as panic is going to affect everybody. Like more people will die from the panic than will die from the virus if the panic stays. So, but that's my worry, is where that'll throw the election kind of off balance.
Sure.
Either way.
When do you think that effect would kick in?
I mean, I've been
Like obviously it's being felt now to the manufacturing.
I mean, the
industry.
stock market had its worst day in a long time yesterday.
Right.
I've been wondering for a few weeks why I did a podcast on the coronavirus almost a month ago now, because I was starting to panic, and I didn't understand why was the stock market still going to all-time highs, even when Apple had bad news. Stock market's still going to highs, but people don't realize Apple's got so much cash they can kind of withstand the heat for a good year.
Yeah.
But mom and pop who sell dresses to Macy's, they're done. They're out of business in a month or 2 months. Nobody has inventory. They all were told, okay, Chinese New Year's going to be over, and then we'll get back to shipping things February 9th.
They didn't.
And not only the things I'm hearing from people who have these small businesses, they're being told maybe another 4 months before factories open, and they're out of business then.
Yeah. And didn't Apple come out and say this is going to affect them as well?
Apple did, but Apple has $100 billion cash or more, and they can handle. They can keep prices low. They have inventory. They can probably switch fairly quickly, more quickly than most people, to another factory. But most countries are not even set up to manufacture the way China is. Right. Not that China was the best manufacturer ever, but nobody else even has facilities. So I do think in the long term, this is going to affect the global economy because people are going to have a plan B now. But nobody has a plan B. Even a company like Apple has no plan B. If you want Tylenol, you better stockpile now because there's going to be a shortage.
Right.
All the medical companies, there's no antibiotics. They're all made in China. Food companies like Tyson Foods, or I'm speculating, but most of these food companies package and can and everything.
Sure.
They even make the food here, send it to
I
China.
think Smithfield Pork is now owned by a Chinese company. So
and they're all packaged in China, and all those places are closed. I don't even know why the entire country's closed, but it seems pretty much every city I look up is like on lockdown. And so that's what strikes me as a path to victory. For if people are in the streets angry because they have no more money and they used to be solidly middle class, that's a danger I see.
Right.
So, and again, there's no strategy.
It is absolutely a factor, and that what people, what could happen and could change the dynamic of the election.
Do you think Trump is? I mean, Trump must be aware that that's not only an issue for
I'm
policy,
sure.
but I mean, everybody sort of downplays coronavirus because it's not really here. But again, I can't understand why the stock market is even, and I'm usually always bullish on the stock market. Like people used to make fun of me during the financial crisis because I'd go on CNBC when the Dow was down like 1,000 points, and I'd be like, no, it's a great time to buy now.
Well,
and everyone was
right.
insane,
Right.
and the stock market was at all-time highs a few days ago, but I think now it's starting to shake a little bit as people get a little nervous because now it's in Italy and moving up. And, the deputy health minister of Iran suddenly has coronavirus. So people are seeing that no one's, and it's kind of common knowledge, or not common knowledge, but the few immunologists I've spoken to or read about are saying everybody in the world will be exposed eventually. No one's safe from this. So it just depends on what the real statistics are on who's exposed, who's infected, what's the real fatality rate. We don't really know that at all. But given that we don't know it, and given that globalization is so intense right now, and it turns out we've been doing all of our manufacturing in China, which is in total lockdown, that's my one worry, in terms of blood in the streets, which could affect anything. Who knows what direction that could go?
We'll see.
Yeah, so we just don't know. You don't have there's nothing you could do about it.
No.
So don't.
The only thing I'd say is go be proactive. put it back on the Chinese that they're the ones that caused this, and then say this is why I'm trying to bring manufacturing jobs here. That would be the proactive play on the Trump side to get ahead of this before it's a reactive problem. Make it a product. Doesn't mean you're going to win everything, but it's better than being on defense the whole time too.
So is there anything I'm missing here in terms of election questions?
No, I think by March 3rd we'll have a lot of answers.
So March 4th, who's left standing on the Democrat side? You already said certainly Sanders. You think maybe Biden will kind of just hold out for whatever?
Well, I think Biden's going to see how he does in Super Tuesday. So he'll drop out if it's an annihilation, which it looks like it would be right now. So I think it's Bloomberg. I think it's Bernie. And I think that'd be it.
You see any chance for a third party, like a Bloomberg-Romney weird thing?
I mean, no.
I mean, Romney did get 50 million votes, and he hates Trump. Do any of those people, ex-voters of Romney?
No.
So that's not a factor.
No, I don't think it's a factor at all.
So it's gonna be interesting come November.
Yeah, I really think it'll be.
And you think it's a blowout right now, as it stands? You think it's a blowout, Trump? Is this a Nixon McGovern kind of blowout, or Reagan Mondale?
If the election were held today, I think the president would get again over 300 electoral votes. And I'm going by what the data is telling us right now. If I'm to add up the electoral math based on the polling data in some of these key states where, it could swing either way.
And you need 270 to win.
270.
So, well, okay. Will you come back after a few more, around convention time? You should come back, or maybe in a month or two, just to kind of assess the ruins of what's going on all around.
Yeah, you may be making fun of me, but I think I'm
Buttigieg won the nomination. What were you doing? Andrew Yang came back and pulled us all.
He won the write-in. Andrew Yang won the write-in.
All right. Well, Phil Stutts, campaign manager extraordinaire. That's what I'm going to call you. Author of Fire Them Now, and you have a book also coming out next January or February. What's that going to be called?
It's called Undefeated, the secret formula that elects presidents and will grow your business every time.
And by the way, what's interesting about you, Phil, I always get insights into the elections, and I've been reading books about all the elections since I was in fourth grade. I read Theodore Ted White's books on the making of the president in 1960, 64. Those were and then Dasher about Carter and so on after that. Oh, Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail in 72, Hunter S. Thompson. But thanks once again. And the other thing is we're going to do another podcast because you take your campaign strategies, all this data profiling, and you've been the first person to translate that over, and you help companies now use these same techniques, and it's so innovative, and it's amazing how much people who do your style of marketing know about us, like in terms of privacy and so on. Right. So we're going to do another podcast in a second about that. But thank you once again, Phil. Come back soon and update us because I always like this topic.
Sounds good.
Did you know that franchise owners are more likely to start a successful business than entrepreneurs who go it alone? Neighborly offers 19 premier brands with services that repair, maintain, and enhance homes. With Neighborly, you'll get the business model, marketing resources, and corporate support you need to pursue a rewarding future. Learn more about joining over 5,000 Neighborly franchises by downloading your free guide at go.nbly.com/podcast.